Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of House Resolution 505, which condemns the murder of Dr. George Tiller, who was shot to death at his church on May 31st. The resolution also offers the condolences of the House of Representatives to Dr. Tiller's family. I know that Dr. Tiller and his family are in the thoughts and prayers of every member of the House today. I want to commend our colleague, the distinguished chairperson of the Rules Committee, my fellow New Yorker, Ms. Slaughter, for introducing this resolution. It is imperative that the House of Representatives speak with a united voice in condemning this crime. It is a sad reminder that medical personnel are still at risk from armed extremists who are willing to resort to deadly violence in order to advance their causes, even when they cloak their cause in the language of life. There can never be room in a free society for the use of deadly violence to advance a cause. It is against everything this country stands for. I have no doubt there isn't a single member of this House who would disagree. This resolution renews our commitment to the, quote, American principle that tolerance must always be superior to intolerance and that violence is never an appropriate response to differences in belief, unquote. As deplorable as this murder was, it was all the more reprehensible because the victim was targeted as he was leaving church. In the past 10 years, 38 people have been murdered in their place of worship and 30 more have been wounded. Dr. Tiller was a controversial figure. He had been the target of threats and even a prior shooting because of his dedication to providing needed, if unpopular, services. He was murdered solely because of the work he did. The continued violence directed at abortion providers, including doctors and the people who staff their clinics, is well known. Bombings, shootings, vandalism, and harassment all serve to warn women and their health care providers that they may pay a terrible price if they choose to avail themselves of their rights under the Constitution. This was not the first time a health care provider was similarly targeted. I am sure every member of this House and every decent American, however they may feel or whatever they may believe on the question of abortion, will insist that this and every other question must be decided by our legal constitutional processes and not by murderous violence. I am sure we all condemn those people or groups who espouse or excuse domestic terrorism. But while violence has long been directed at clinics and the people who work there, this time the killer chose, in addition, to invade the sanctity of the Sabbath. Murderous intolerance is never justified. Even so, the idea of bringing death and mayhem to a house of worship strikes all people as particularly reprehensible. These acts include the murder of an Illinois pastor in the pulpit in March of this year, the murder of an Ohio minister in November of last year, the murder of an usher and a guest during a children's play in a Tennessee church in July of last year, the murder of 4 family members in a church in Louisiana in May 2006, and the shooting of a worshiper outside a synagogue in Florida in October 2005, not to mention the attempted bombings of 2 synagogues in Riverdale in the Bronx just a few weeks ago. Whether these acts of violence target one individual or an entire community of faith, we must all join together and speak out against them. I urge all my colleagues to stand up to those who would bring their reign of terror into a house of worship and those who would seek to change American law by violence and unconstitutional means, to express their opprobrium of this conduct by supporting this resolution condemning the murder of Dr. George Tiller and extending the condolences of this House to Dr. Tiller's family. I urge my colleagues to support this important resolution, and I reserve the balance of my time.